Welcome to Cut the BS with Holly and Rachel.
We are here to help you ditch the overwhelm, stop second guessing, and reconnect with what truly fuels your body, your mind, and your life.
No fluff, no filters, just real talk that helps you feel strong, aligned, and unstoppable. Whether you're on a walk, commuting, or sipping your favorite matcha, this is your space. There she goes. All right, so I think I'm going to take my glasses off for this one.
She's a fraud. She's a fraud.
Blue light glasses, okay? My eyes be hurting. Okay, so welcome to Cut the BS. My name is Rachel, aka Ray Ray, aka Bon, aka whatever you want to call me.
I'm Holly, aka the one.
Another one. So today we're going to be cutting through the BS, but probably our own BS because we're just going to do a girl talk episode. There's no script here. There's no research studies. There's no what do they do over in Japan on this. We're just going to talk about our flow, how we deal with this topic, how we incorporate it into our lives. So, Holly, let's talk about intuitive eating. What do you think?
So personally, I have a lot of thoughts on intuitive eating, and I think that number one, intuitive eating is vastly misunderstood, but I think it's vastly misunderstood when people are shitting on it. I personally practice intuitive eating probably 80% of the time. There's a couple times throughout the year where I'm like, let me really lock in. Let me see like where I'm sitting at calorie wise. And I'll track my food for a little bit. Or if I'm leading up to like an event and just, want to look a little bit leaner, I'll track my food. But by and large, I intuitively eat. This works well for me. I find that I know what my body needs. I know what my body enjoys. I know when I need more protein. I know that when I'm craving something super sweet and it's the end of the day and I've had 30 grams of protein, I'm not actually craving a chocolate bar. My body actually really wants protein. A chocolate bar would be delish, but I would still be craving something sweet after that chocolate bar. So I personally practice intuitive eating majority of the time. Where do you land on the spectrum, would you say?
I land in many different places on the spectrum. Depends on the day and where I'm at in my cycle. However, did want to share a common agreement in the chocolate bar at night. I have found in the last year. Well, let me give a bit of a background. So, in the last year, for those of you that don't know, I have been intermittently cutting just because homegirl got married. Snaps for the marriage. I'm in a place of being super happy and just really mentally doing well. And in turn, I think for me, that causes a lot of happy eating, which then makes you horizontally enhanced. So, because I care about that, I have been intermittently cutting. Why am I doing it intermittently? Is because I do not want to lose the muscle mass that I have. I do have a decent amount of muscle mass. I've been lifting for the better part of 10 plus years, and I don't want to lose a bunch of weight and lose all the muscle that I've worked really hard to build and the strength that I've worked really hard to build. So, in this last year of really just cracking down, there's been a month here and there where I've not tracked at all to see how I am with intuitive eating. But I have found that when homegirl doesn't have enough protein, man, do I want something sweet. Give me a Reese cup from the fridge or give me 10 of them. I will eat all of them.
Sorry. Pause the whole point of this. In the fridge of Reese's?
Yeah.
You keep your Reese's in the fridge?
Yes, because they're the best that way. And if you don't do that, you're doing it wrong.
Is that a Florida thing? Because it's like so hot there. She's been converted. She's in the dark side, guys.
Absolutely not. Daddy Steve did it when I was growing up, and I am my daddy's daughter. We both love Reese cups. We both love them cold.
Interesting.
And don't knock it till you try it, okay?
I'll
It has
try
nothing
it.
to do with it's nothing to do with Florida because I'm Kentucky born and raised, Eastern Kentucky, Appalachia. Yeet, yeet.
Yeehaw. She's never worn a boot in her life.
You're not supposed to tell people that. Yes, I have never wore cowboy boots in my life, nor do I ever plan to because who wants their toes
Facts.
squished in leather? Nobody.
Do not get her or Kaylin on their feet rant. Just avoid that though.
That's for another podcast. So, back on topic. My view on intuitive eating, I think it's great. Am I good at it? I'm decently good at it. I think if I was in a phase of maintenance where I was trying to maintain like where I'm at, it would be easy peasy lemon squeezy. However, I track because it's almost like tracking is my accountability partner. So I'm not currently doing it. I will do it every now and again because I do take breaks from tracking for my own like mental health and mental clarity, but because I'm in the intermittent cutting stage, I do need to track for accountability. Otherwise, I will have 8 pieces of bacon for breakfast, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does limit you for the rest of the day if you're in a calorie deficit, for those of you that don't know. But I think for the average person who is wanting to like maintain where they're at, I think that it's great. I think that it is important to create a baseline to know where you're at, to know where you want to be, and then determine what the best path is, even if that is intuitive eating. I also understand that we live in a world where eating disorders are a real thing. And so I think that for people that struggle with that, definitely consult with your doctor, consult with your dietitian, and do what is healthiest for you. I personally don't struggle with that, so that's where I sit on it.
There's definitely like two sides of the spectrum to that. It's not just that everybody's out here, you know, overeating or, you're eating small quantities of things and for example, a Pop Tart. A Pop Tart's hella freaking calories, but you're not going to feel very full off of that. And so I think that that's also where intuitive eating can get kind of tricky. I don't know.
I think it's quality versus quantity.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people look at the calories, and although the calories do matter, especially when it comes to weight loss, maintenance, gaining, whatever it is your goal is, but if you're if you're in a calorie like regardless if you're in a calorie deficit or not, let's just throw that to the side for a second. If you're nutrient deficient, you're going to be miserable.
Facts.
And you're going to be nutrient deficient if you're eating a bunch of processed shit that doesn't have any nutritional value. If you're not getting your vitamins and minerals, you're going to feel like crap. If you're not getting enough protein, carbs, and fat, you're going to feel like crap.
Especially as women.
Yeah, yes, especially as women when it comes to the fat, you have to maintain, I'd say minimum 60 grams to maintain good hormonal health. And if you're a woman, your hormonal health matters. Also, I will say that for those that are under eating, you've destroyed your metabolism to the point where your body's functioning off of only burning 1,500 calories a day because you've under ate for so long that your body's like, well, in order not to die, I'm going to be super efficient and I'm going to only function in all aspects off of this amount.
I personally ended up in intuitive eating. I mean, I've always like growing up and I am very blessed that in my house growing up, I think my parents, tracked here and there occasionally as I got older. But like by and large, it was kind of a free for all at our house, like we didn't always have the healthiest snack options, but we always had a dinner with a protein, carb, and a veggie. Like that was always going to be at dinner. Breakfast was always really well rounded. And then we had our fun foods. So intuitive eating is something I feel like I honestly grew up doing because when I was craving a fruit, I went to the fridge and got a fruit, right? It wasn't until like college for me that I really started becoming a little bit more obsessive with my food. And I think that that's just unfortunately a little bit of nature and a little bit of society is as women, we want to stay at our high school weight forever for whatever fucking reason. That's beyond me. I mean, it's not beyond me. I understand it. That was me at one point. But, anyways, in the quest for staying as small as possible, I became really obsessed with like tracking and just like making sure that I was getting not even quality food, just staying in a calorie like a certain area within my calories. And then one day I stumbled upon intuitive eating and I was like, huh, this actually like kind of makes sense. Let me try that. And I mean, again, sometimes I'm at the point now in my life where I can go back and forth and tracking never becomes really unhealthy. Sometimes it's a motherfucking chore, but it's never unhealthy. So now I just kind of fluctuate, but intuitive eating is just so much easier for me, especially when I don't have any desired physique look. Like I'm content with where my physique just kind of naturally stays at with intuitive eating. And then when I want to look a little bit leaner, a little bit tighter, I just track my calories for a little bit and stay a little bit more on track.
She's a dime a dozen, everybody. Speaking of like how we were brought up, it sounds like you had a good baseline, which is great and amazing. We love the carbs, fats, and proteins. My upbringing was a bit different in the sense of I grew up in the middle of Eastern Kentucky, Appalachia. Proud to be from there. But with that comes really, really good food. That's really, really bad for you. And when I say bad for you, in moderation, everything is okay. That's like something I firmly believe. However, I grew up with biscuits and gravy. I grew up with soup beans for dinner with cornbread. I grew up with meat and taters for dinner. Don't think I actually voluntarily ate broccoli until college.
Wow.
I shit you not. If it was green, I didn't really want it. If it wasn't chocolate, I didn't really want it. Fun fact, I was about 5 or 6 years old, and my favorite place to be was my grandmother's house, Granny Betty,
Granny
because
Betty.
I'm not kidding, we love her, because she always had a bundt cake with drizzled frosting. It was always chocolate. I went to her house one day as a young kid. Like I was literally in single digits, lower end of single digits. And I was like, Granny, do you have any chocolate? Do you have anything sweet? Because she always was the plug. Okay.
She was the
She didn't
plug.
have anything. She searched all her cabinets and she lived to please Rachel because I was a carbon copy of her when it comes to the stubbornness, the attitude, and taking no shit, even at the ripe age of 5. So, what can I say? The only thing she found was a jar of chocolate icing. And you best believe that she gave me that jar of chocolate icing with a giant tablespoon and let me go in. Did I sit under the kitchen table and eat as much as my little heart desired out of that chocolate frosting? Absolutely. My intuitive eating was saying, eat all of it.
Facts. Hey, it was delish.
So we've come a long way. We've come a long way. And I don't regret those years, but it would have been nice to have a little more structure.
Yeah. So how did you then decide though? Like if that was did you know that that was unhealthy at a certain point, or was it not until college that you were like, wait, what do y'all mean you serve veggies with dinner?
I mean, honestly, I always like I grew up knowing like vegetables were healthy. I didn't really know anything about lean meats. I didn't grow up knowing anything about I knew that corn and potatoes were bad because they're starchy.
Yeah.
That's kind of we had soda in our house, which we referred to in Appalachia as pop. We had pop in our house up until I was like
Crazy.
almost middle school. And then we got rid of pop. Dr. Pepper was the pop of choice for years. But when I started playing volleyball, I mean, I could eat with the with the big boys, okay? Homegirl was hungry all the time. Just like metabolism wise and
Yeah.
genetics wise, like I could eat whatever I wanted and still stayed very athletic and fit, and it was great while it lasted. But anyways, in college, the freshman 15 were real. It was a real thing, and photos no longer became fun for me to look at of myself. And so I really had to learn the hard way. I mean, I really had to go through all the mistakes that people make when they're trying to cut or to lose weight. I also had no idea about um like TDEE, which is total daily energy expenditure for those of you that don't know, or BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. I had no idea that your body naturally, by doing nothing,
Yep.
burns 1,500 to 2,000 calories a day. So I thought what you ate is what you burned.
I feel like I was the same way. Like, you hear nothing about your body needs, maybe you do nowadays. I feel like when we were growing up, you heard nothing about how your body required energy in order to sleep and to go to school. Oh my God, to go to school and sit there for 8 hours and absorb. Maybe that's why I didn't absorb government or what's the math class? Fuck, I can't even remember. Where you're like
Algebra,
learning, no, where you're learning shapes, geometry.
geometry.
Geometry. Maybe that's why I didn't absorb anything in high school because I wasn't getting the proper nutrients. I'm gonna say that. In the mornings, I was not fueling my brain. I feel like that's a very universal experience, honestly, to not understand those things.
I literally thought if you didn't go to the gym and burn 1,000 calories, then you then could not eat 1,000 calories. Otherwise, you were going to gain weight. I had no idea. You can blame it on the school system, which Kentucky's is not up
Let's not
there.
look into the research of that. Yeah.
We won't go there. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't until being an ex-athlete, retiring from competitive sports, and the identity crisis that followed, I went into the field of health promotion, which you and I both went into in college, and a whole world was opened up of what the truth is about health, wellness, longevity, quality of life, movement, fitness, all the things. And it was like, ooh, this is a good substitute for the passion of my entire life being volleyball.
Yeah. I also feel like the days of going to work out and doing cardio only, of course, getting on the treadmill, running for 30 minutes to an hour. That's crazy. Listening to only music. Oh my God. What was wrong with me? Personally, I was listening to Young Boy. Not sure how that was getting me through cardio. Anyways, and seeing the calories burned or whatever it says and being like, okay, so I can eat that many calories.
Literally.
Sis, what the fuck?
We were in starvation mode. We were losing muscle and brain cells at the same time.
Literally.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's so different for girls today, in a good way and a bad way, right? So in a good way, in the sense of they have all the knowledge they need at their fingertips. They have things like AI that can actually, usually, most of the time, spit factual information. We didn't have that. We didn't even have the Apple playlists that Apple creates. And
Truly.
you best believe that Apple running playlist is a good one. We had to make our own playlists, and they all consisted of songs that we had to buy.
Yeah,
The
literally.
playlists were awful.
Yeah.
I had I I had Lecrae bumping in my headphones. Your boy's been a Christian quite a few years. Literally, that's what was bumping in my headphones.
She was like
Um,
one foot in front of the other. I'm so
is
motivated.
enough. God is enough. God is enough. Yes, you are enough. I'm like,
Uh,
huh? Great songs. We love Lecrae, right? But not a workout playlist. It's just I don't know that was the move.
Probably not. But you know what? We got through. Here we are on the other side.
Indeed. Knowledgeable.
educated. But I will
Slightly.
say, like, one thing about social media is duh, but like your algorithm is catered to you. What you interact with is what you see. So, like, a lot of times I see positive health and wellness things, right? Every so often, some BS comes up on my timeline. There was this, I don't even know this girl's name, this creator's name, but I know that she's out here telling people, that she eats a salad once a day. And like, so on the flip side of that, like, if that's what young girls are watching and aspiring to have her body and be fit like her, then their algorithm is going to continue to show them people practicing poor exercise and diet choices.
Could you imagine lifting weights on a Caesar salad?
I
You would have to
fear,
drag me out of there. I would pass out.
I was going to say, I fear that I would be lifted to the heavens. So,
She would not be lifting weights. The weights would indeed lift her to heaven.
yeah, cue your playlist, really.
God is enough. God is enough.
I'm coming for you.
Literally.
But yeah, so as much as I feel like social media is like all great and dandy, there's also, people spreading misinformation, hence our yap sessions here on Cut the BS. Um, so I think it'll be interesting to see because it is still at the end of the day, it's at the tip of their fingertips. So if they do the research, if they look into what these people are posting, I think they'll quickly come to find that like, that's not actually true. But will they look it up?
Something that we need to teach the older generation, the ones above the millennials, I don't know what those are called, that not everything you see on Facebook or the internet is true. So you really have to do your research. Take everything with a grain of salt. Are you progressing? Do you feel better? Does it make you feel good to eat one salad a day and that be it? If so, more power to you.
Yeah,
But
couldn't
it
be
doesn't,
me.
and I know that.
Yeah, facts. Speaking of, kind of not, I personally have tried dates recently. Have you ever had a date?
Yes, I love them.
Okay, I've not been brave enough to try it just as it is, okay? Kind of a little skeptical. But I've been doing like peanut butter in it and then like the chocolate around it. It's giving Buckeye with fiber.
Girl, dates are the moment. Dates have gotten me through this last year because, first of all, getting 150 plus grams of protein is hard sometimes, okay? Don't judge. It's a little hard sometimes. And if I'm craving a little tiny sweet treat and I've got some extra calories left on my little app because I am tracking, you best believe I will take 2 dates. I will pit them, I will chop them up, I will mash them with almond butter, a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of almond butter. I will chop up dark 90% cocoa chocolate. Yes, it's an acquired taste if you're used to Hershey's, okay? Mix it all together, and it's like a candy bar. It's honestly like a Reese cup by the spoonful. I've also tried the pecans. You
Mm.
open the date, you pit it, you put the pecan in, you drizzle it with with chocolate or dip it in chocolate, freeze it, Snickers.
See, that's what this is kind of giving a little bit. Fire. CJ says I'm old as fuck for eating dates.
First of
You know
all,
what? I'm getting
CJ,
fiber in. Where are you getting your fiber, sir?
if you want me to be babbed
Don't
up for
answer
three
that.
days, be my guest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big date girl. Big date girl. Kaylin judges me as well, and he can suck it because they're good for you and
Back to intuitive eating a little bit. I've been enjoying it. I think there's a time and a place, and I think you have to understand and have a little bit of discipline, even. Again, intuitive eating doesn't necessarily mean that we're out here eating Taco Bell and pizza and, you know, Snicker bars every day. We're actually intuitively listening to our body and saying, this is what I need, this is what I want. And you find a middle ground.
I think it comes with the importance of being educated on
Yes.
like educating yourself on this is what my body needs to optimally perform for whatever your purpose is. Your purpose might say, I need to optimally perform as a mom, as a dad, as a partner, as a corporate employee. Hopefully not.
Yeah, please don't ever
Whatever it is,
optimally perform as a corporate employee.
literally. So, how do I fuel my body in a way that's going to help me optimally perform, have good mental clarity, have extra focus? I personally, in my journey, I want to optimally perform as a human being who enjoys nature, is able to move, is able to run away from a bear if need be, and also play beach volleyball whenever she wants without pain. And I've been able to do that pretty well, mostly.
You've been chased by a bear?
No, but in case it
Oh,
happens, I think here would be
okay.
a crocodile,
True.
alligator,
I've heard if you like
python.
zigzag, is that true? Well, I guess you've never had to. If you have to, let me know if
Let
the
me know.
zigzag is true.
Did you know that alligators can run 35 miles per hour?
Yo, that's crazy. My dad was
I
just
found
telling
that out.
me that the horses in the Derby, their like top speed or average speed is like 44. So to think that an alligator is just 10 under that, my worst nightmare. I think you've just unlocked a fear.
Well, so I was told they can run 35 miles an hour. Someone fact checked me on that out in the cyberspace. But if they do run that fast, they do not have lactic acid. So I think they just die. It's unclear. I am not a zoologist. Is that a
Heck if I know. Our podcast is going to get taken down for misinformation about a fucking alligator running.
intuitive eating should be the goal because you can't track forever and you can't be in a deficit forever. I think it's good for a little bit. I think tracking is good for a little bit to see where you are on the intuitive
Yeah.
side. Um, for example, I know off the top of my cranium that when I have lunch or dinner, I typically do 8 ounces of beef, 8 ounces of turkey, 8 ounces of chicken. Fish, I can usually do a little more fish because it's lighter, and I know I'll be hungry if I only have 8 ounces. So I've learned some things about myself of what keeps me full, keeps me satiated, satisfied. Fiber's great. That's the goal. I want to be satisfied. I don't want to be thinking about food all day. I got a life to live.
Yeah, I agree. And also, again, tracking serves its purpose, but like tracking is a task. Like at the end of the day, it's a whole
Is it?
thing, like it's definitely a part-time job that we're not being paid
And
for.
I was going to say they're not paying me for it.
I mean,
So,
your
yeah,
body is paying off, but it's not giving enough, okay? I need a paycheck from MyFitnessPal at this point. I've dedicated so much time to that thing.
literally. And there's time and place for both. Intuitive eating should
Yeah,
be the goal because you want something that's sustainable, that's easy, that's habit. You can't track forever. And I think understanding that is important as well. So that's
but
my
there's a lot of
take.
knowledge to be learned from tracking, how much
Oh,
fat, fiber, protein, carbs, everything is in what you're eating so that you can be well informed. Because there's been times where I've picked something up and I've been like, oh, this is going to be high in fat. And it's not high in fat, but it's higher in carbs or, whatever the
yeah.
situation may be. So, yeah, there's definitely a time and a place for both. And I think most importantly, just make sure with both that you're in a good mental space for both.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Cut the BS with Holly and Rachel. If today gave you a dose of clarity, confidence, or even just a good laugh, we've done our job.
Don't forget, wellness isn't about doing more, it's about doing what actually works for you. So take what hit home, leave the rest, and keep showing up as your strongest, realest self.
Be sure to follow, rate, and share this episode with someone who's ready to cut the BS and live with more intention. Until next time.